precipitation is some light snow and or rain late Friday into Saturday, but of course plenty of time to fine-tune that forecast. But speaking of forecasts, and speaking of extreme weather, no extreme weather in that 7-day forecast, but we've got that book signing we've been talking about for days. It's happening today at Borders at 12 p.m. Sunday. That is today. It's the Borders in Farmington, right near West Farms there. Bob Maxon, myself, and Josh Judge, who joins us here today, meteorologist Josh Judge.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome, and thanks for coming down from New Hampshire.
Absolutely.
Works at a TV station in New Hampshire. Came up with this book, the concept of extreme New England weather, and it involves meteorologists from all across the Northeast, including Bob Maxon and myself. Tell us about the book, why this book, Extreme New England Weather.
Well, the thing I wanted to do was compile a combination of two things. First of all, a look at all the big storms that we've had over the last 100+ years. It goes right back to the blizzard of 1888, as well as do a little education and teach how all these big weather systems that we get here, and we get all types in New England, as you know, how they work and how they come together, give safety tips and a lot of interesting facts about them.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's not just a book of history. When you approached me, was it last spring now?
Maybe even before that, last winter.
He wanted to tell these stories of these storms of extreme weather through the eyes of meteorologists that forecast them, and including myself and Bob Maxon. Bob's talking about Hurricane Bob and his thoughts as he covered it on scene when it was happening, and me, the Wethersfield tornado from a couple of summers ago when I was on the air for 3.5 hours doing wall-to-wall coverage. So readers of the book will also see what's going on in our minds.
I think that's really neat because a lot of people always wonder, what is it like for meteorologists during these big storms? And of course, we're usually on TV covering them. So you get a really good idea of what goes through different meteorologists' minds during all these big weather events. You with, of course, the Wethersfield tornado, Darren, and Bob during Hurricane Bob, and many others as well.
Yeah, so we're covering all markets across the Northeast. We're talking about Springfield, Boston, Providence, and some of the big storms from Maine all the way down to southern New England, as you mentioned, the past 100 years or so.
Yeah, right back to the blizzard of 1888 and right through forward, and all types of weather, be it snowstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes, thunderstorms, cold wave, heat wave, you name it. And
you learn a little bit about each phenomena or each extreme weather event. You don't just learn about my thoughts of the Wethersfield tornado, which, by the way, as I wrote about in the book here, I was watching outside, this was in our old building, watching outside golf ball size hail falling, and the thought process that went into my mind was, I've grown up here, and I've never seen golf ball size hail bouncing off of our cars, nonetheless, in the parking lot. So you're talking about that, but you also learn a little bit about tornadoes.
Yeah, so the idea is the first half of every chapter explains how weather systems work and teaches you a little bit of the basic meteorology behind it. And the second half of each chapter is a recap of all the big storms over the last 100+ years in that genre, plus stories from meteorologists like you and ordinary everyday people, too.
All right, so it taps into the weather geek in all of us.
It really does, weather and history.
Josh Judge, myself, Bob Maxon will be at Borders in Farmington, right next to West Farms, to do book signing today. And you can also get it at extremenewenglandweather.com and Barnes & Noble's website as well.
Barnes & Noble, all Barnes & Noble, most Borders stores have it too.
All right, so we'll see you out there at noon today. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. Stay tuned. We're talking, Shirley tells me anyways, baked potatoes in today's Taste of Today segment. There you go. Stay with us. Lots more ahead on NBC Connecticut Today. We'll be right back.